Smart Animate is one of the most powerful prototyping features in Figma that allow you to create all sorts of different animations. In this video, we're going to learn all the basics that you need in order to create a smart animation, as well as dissecting a smart animation that allow you to create a progress bar just like this one right here. Now, let's get started, and we're going to use this Figma community base file, which is the Smart Animate Loader by /designer. And basically, we're going to get started by simply creating a frame right here below. And we're going to learn the basics of how Smart Animate works so that you can make the most out of this. So we're going to create a rectangle, which is going to be a blue rectangle. And I'm going to simply center it. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second frame just so that I can show you the basic principle of Smart Animate. Now, it's crucial whenever you want to create a smart animation between one frame and another to use the same name for the layers that you intend changing. So for example, let's say that we want to create a smart animation where in the first case we have a scenario like this for the rectangle. And in the second one, we want the rectangle to basically move on the top right-hand corner. We're also going to change the color to this purple color. And what we're going to do next is we're going to click on the prototype and select the first frame and click on plus to add a starting point. The reason why we're doing this is simply because we have another animation, so we just want to be sure that we can basically track this with the prototyping. So I'm going to call this rectangle transition. And we are going to go into present mode so that we can see this in its fullness. Now, I'm actually going to increase the size so that you can see it. And we are going to basically create an animation where once you click on this rectangle, it's going to be redirecting to the second frame. And we don't want to select instant, but we want to add the Smart Animate feature. And 300 milliseconds and ease out is fine, so we don't need to touch those options. And now let's see what happens. Now, the moment that I click on the rectangle, you can see that the Smart Animate basically created a smart animation that is a smooth transition, essentially. So it's essential, as I mentioned earlier, to have the exact same name for the layer, because say that I change this to a rectangle in the second frame, you can see that if we redo that, it's simply going to create an animation which isn't interlinked between the first state and the second one. So this is essentially the key element of Smart Animate. So you can add all sorts of different animations in just a few seconds. So even if we duplicate these, and then I'm going to duplicate these within the second frame, I'm going to change the color as well. And as you can see, the name is exactly the same for these duplicates. And I go back, the moment that I click on one of these, it's essentially going to create this animation, which is really useful in a lot of different instances. This is just scratching the surface of what you can really do with Smart Animate. Now, let's go back on the very first example, and I'm simply going to cancel this one so we can really focus on what's going on here. So the essential elements that you have to keep in mind whenever you want to create a smart animation around these lines is to create different frames, and each and every one of these frames is going to basically give us the keyframes of the animation. So if you ever worked an animation, or you just maybe made a flipbook animation when you were young at school, you know that you need the keyframes in order to basically establish the different steps of the animation. This is exactly what we're doing with Smart Animate. So the moment that we click on this button, you can see that we have this dissolve, which goes directly over here. And then we have this smart animation. Now, the reason why we have the dissolve immediately is because if you go back, we don't need a smart animation in this very first frame. What we need is simply a transition, which looks okay from this very first button all the way to the progress bar. And this is where the magic happens, because the progress bar needs the smart animation in order to basically create this animation. And the way that it's structured, it's actually very simple. You don't have the click, so you don't need to click on this one in order for it to go to this second frame. And I don't need to click here in order to see this element and this, and after that, this element. So the nuance that you need to catch here is that we don't have the on click, which is one of the most common transition, but we have after delay. Now, what after delay means is that after a delay, in this case, 1 millisecond, I'm going to be redirected immediately in the second frame, even if I don't need to take, or actually without needing to take any action. So if I change this, for example, to on click, and you can see that this doesn't make any sense at this moment. But if I go back to the after delay, you can see how all of this is basically created automatically. So all of these frames are going to be created automatically. You can also change this and basically change any of the values that you want. And Smart Animate is going to basically catch immediately all of these changes that you want to apply. And it's going to create a smooth transition in between these elements. So say that I want to basically create a transition where by the end of it, I'm going to change to this purple color. I can easily do that. And as you're going to see, the Smart Animate is going to capture these color changes and basically adapt in automatically. So we don't need to establish all of the regular items and variables that you would if you were to use much more complicated software for animations. So this is really makes animation a breeze, and hope this video was helpful. Now I want you to hop on Figma and create your very own smart animation and experiment with this prototyping feature, which is going to bring your designs to the next level.